Drink Tank.
All right. And we're back from beer break.
All right.
Casey's bringing us in with number 3.
Coming in hot. Mm-hmm. Now, I think everyone's number 3 is kind of the controversial one. So what do you have for us? Final Fantasy VII. God damn it, Casey.
Skyrim.
Which one? Switch.
I'd like to take a minute to talk about a mod for Superman 64. The reason mine's controversial at number 3 is because I feel like for the most part we've all kind of we've stayed with single player experiences, and though this is a single player experience, it has the flexibility that it has that beautiful multiplayer connection with it. This is a game on the DS that came out in 2009. It is Dragon Quest IX: Sentinels of the Starry
stuck with Dragon
Skies.
Quest. He said he wasn't going to do it, but he did it, folks.
I had to. The reason being is, first off, if Dragon Quest IX, at this point you know what you're getting at Dragon Quest. You know the world style, you know what you're gonna have.
You gotta fight those little blob guys.
Yep, always. The slimes, yeah. You know what you're getting with this game, but what you didn't know that you were getting with this game is that you were getting a Dragon Quest seamless drop-in, drop-out multiplayer experience across the DS. You can be in someone else's world running your own quest, doing your own thing. You can be in combat, and the moment it's like, ooh, you know what, this is hard, I need help.
Call to arms. I think it was called Call to Arms, and you would accept it, and it teleports you right in.
Right in,
The
you're
DS
helping.
was low-key, like, the best system.
Wait, you never played this game?
No,
Actually,
we
I think
all
I did
three
play. I did play this one.
All three of us
Yes,
did.
because we went to Brando's a couple
Yes.
times to play.
Yes, we did. No, I did play this one. This
No,
is a
we were
great one.
all playing
we
it
all
because
loved it.
there was even a
It was like
weekend.
109 hours.
It was like the promise of Crystal Chronicles really delivered.
You stole the.
Oh, I'm so
No,
sorry.
that is fantastic. This is the game that Crystal Chronicles, I think, really did want to be.
Yeah.
Because
Not,
that,
the technology wasn't there yet.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
no, Crystal Chronicles could have been great if we didn't have to carry that stupid chalice.
that is
Oh, here's
true.
a 4-player game, but one of you has to
Yeah.
get cucked.
And I really think what
was
really
really good.
set.
I was just thinking that.
Is it good?
It is.
Nice.
Continue, sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, this is also very good beer. I'm having 10 Ben's Green Fountains.
We're not sponsored by beer companies, but we
love
wouldn't be
them.
opposed to it. Yeah, Dragon Quest IX. Man, Casey, you got some really good, like, these are like coming out of like the recesses of my brain banana.
Now-
my mind grapes.
Your mind grapes.
Yeah, keep going.
But no, it's just the game is very lovable. It is a classic Dragon Quest experience.
Yes, it
The story and the world are just phenomenal because the fact that you have this drop-in, drop-out multiplayer experience, and this is the main reason why I'm putting it on there, is because you don't have any other experience like this at the time where you can just literally help a friend out and then go off and go back to your quest. Now, of course, it has your standard tropes,
Right.
but the other thing it does really well is the class selections. You can have your pick of the litter.
Well, some of them were
so
some of them
much
were hidden,
flexibility. Yes, and that was the beautiful part.
Yeah,
Is
some of them are hidden classes.
back to how I was saying like earlier, like a game that rewards you for your grind and your time, and you put that effort in. You give that extra 30 minutes of exploration. You push that dungeon a little bit harder. The rewards would be worth it. It was just such a great experience, especially in the Dragon Quest series.
Right, and plus, correct me if I'm wrong here, but once you got to certain like levels or like maxed out certain jobs, you could then like if you maxed out like one of the warrior classes, I think it was like any class can now equip an axe. Or
Yeah.
any class can now equip this weapon, or any class can now equip this.
I like that mechanic.
And
You
so then,
actually,
yeah.
and you know what? You see that in a lot of games nowadays too.
But you didn't back then.
But you had to
Yeah.
max it out, and it was such a blast to max out those rolls.
And you would mainly see that in tactical RPGs, you know, because like you would have to advance your class to get the next class. For that would be like the advancement from
Yeah.
that. But you didn't really see that in the JRPG as often.
I remember because I had like a paladin wielding this giant battle axe, and then Casey comes in with an archer, and he just is like toot, 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 and they're like, I'm
Yep.
like, well,
One of the
I don't even need to attack.
And one of the few games that makes me actually like it, because I always go for a magic-based class. I'm always the mage or I'm always support, but this was one of the few times where I was like, playing a ranger is so satisfying.
Yeah. God,
So, yep.
that is a great game.
Dragon Quest IX, Sentinels of the Starry Sky, definitely worth it.
They should bring that to like the Switch.
If they brought it, if they did that to the Switch, it would
Yeah.
be a fantastic addition. And honestly, you know what?
Easy to add.
Don't even remaster it. Just give me it as is. It
Well-
was perfect. Don't even touch it. Just update the internet so we could all play it online. Update that networking for it.
That's
That's
true.
it.
It still looks
Update
pretty
the
good.
internet. What am I saying?
Did you try unplugging the internet and plugging it back in? Number 3, Dragon Quest IX, Sentinels
Yeah.
of a Starry Sky. That's an excellent choice. I love that game.
It is, and I
support it.
love your rationale for it too, because it actually translates into the rationale for why mine is number 3.
Go on.
Oh, get out of
Yeah,
here.
no, it's true. So, Casey and I were talking about, how this delivers on the promise of Crystal Chronicles and the technology wasn't quite there. Well, one of my favorite games of all time is Ogre Battle. But my number 3 pick, Ogre Battle 64, because that game was able to deliver on the promise of Ogre Battle. Because when you play the original Ogre Battle, your guys, they look kind of schlubby and blobby and everything. But now in Ogre Battle 64, here they are in beautifully drawn, not quite 3D.
It's
you
like
know.
that 2D, 3D thing.
Yeah, it's like a top-down puzzler kind of look.
I didn't want to do this video because
I had to come up.
we discussed this and I said
So
no.
no, it's that beautiful isometric, hand-drawn character portraits. And what I love about Ogre Battle 64 is you control an army. You have a main character that you make at the beginning, and you have a whole fleet of highly customizable characters. Maybe up to like 100. I mean, you could have a lot. And
Wow.
one of the things that these Ogre Battle 64 try to do is they try to give you like those super characters, where like, oh, put this guy in
Commanders or
here.
whatever.
Yeah, and you know what? Nuts to them. I went with custom dudes all the time. I had my custom guy as my right-hand man, as my number 2,
Yeah.
leading up the squadron. And you know what? He was the guy that actually so it wasn't even my main characters group. It was my secondary group with all customizable guys, no special dudes, that killed the boss of the game for me with his attack because I took
love it.
such good care of him. I made
love
him
it.
so strong. But getting to why this is at number 3 is because I think a lot of it has to do with that technology, delivering on the promise. This is people who are younger, you can't appreciate how momentous the Nintendo 64 was.
It was huge.
Moving from the
Pivotal.
moving from the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo to the N64.
Yup.
With that first time you played Mario 64, that first time you
Life-changing.
played Star Fox 64,
Life-changing.
all of those games absolutely huge, and Ogre Battle 64 just as big as any one of them for this type of game, and that's why I definitely have it at number 3, and I definitely think I got enough. And I just want to point out some of the neat classes, like you could have like samurai, but also like knights, templars. Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. So like,
That's cool.
it was a bunch of different fantasy tropes put together. One of the more unique classes is like the Beastmaster, right? So if you have a Beastmaster, and then you could put like monsters
Right.
on your team.
Oh,
like you
I
could-
love that.
yeah, I know. One of my
That's so
strongest
cool. That's
guys, I had
fun.
a Beastmaster Lieutenant guy, and he had like 2 Cerberuses, and that was a very mobile, very strong squad, So
Nice.
and then this one too, it encouraged exploration. You wanted to find like these super rare items. Like you could get these super rare tomes for your wizards, so they could cast huge spells. You could get really
that's
strong
awesome.
swords.
That's awesome.
That you want to give out to your different lieutenants and things like that. So I just love the customization. I love the minutia. I just loved taking the time to build my teeny little squads, and then we send them out on the battlefield, let them wreak havoc. Pretty boilerplate story, you work for the kingdom, it turns out the kingdom's evil,
Yeah,
now you're a rebel.
yeah.
I mean, how many
Rebel
games do
scum.
that? I
So
mean,
many. So many.
I think every Ogre Battle game does that.
Probably.
Tactics Ogre, it's the same thing, which is another one I really enjoy. But yeah, so I'm going for number 3, Ogre Battle 64. Another reason it's special too is, the N64, they were just these cartridges.
Yeah,
I never
it's true.
owned it. I borrowed it from our friend Mike Shiragi. You can't borrow games like
No,
that
not
nowadays.
really.
You plug it
Yeah.
in, it's got 3 saves. He's got a data, I got a data. And then I think Ron Fish borrowed it. So there's a cartridge out there that's all 100% like with all of us on it, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, great game. Just so much fun.
Man, it's funny that you talk about like squad-based combat because my number 3 features Squad 7. It is Valkyria Chronicles.
I really thought this was going to make a stronger play for your number 1.
No, Valkyria Chronicles is great though. This game, all right, so tactics games, they're not really my cup of tea. This does play a little more RPG-ish with a little bit of like the shooting element where you have to line up your shots and you can do crits, and it's a great combat system, and the more you play it, the more you learn about it, and it's just wonderful stuff. But what's really truly excellent about it, aside from like the excellent combat with like people shooting at each other constantly and the passive and the setups, and like, I mean, all those tactics are so important. The character work, again, you'll notice there's a common theme for me. I love character work. This has the benefit of actually have a really good story wrapped around it too, but it has that beautiful art style where it all looks like hand etched and stuff like that. It looks so
like
good.
Slightly harder than watercolor.
It's like you know what, like
colored pencil maybe,
or like the when they used to like block print like things in books, because this whole game takes place in a book. Remember, it's a textbook about, so it's supposed to look like a hand-drawn image in a textbook.
That's right. Because you're turning the page. Yep.
Not quite cel-shaded, close though, right?
Yeah, I would say it's closer to like that, almost like the watercolor style. I would say, I don't know, it's an interesting look. It's an interesting look.
Negative reactions to cel-shaded games.
Well, because
what was wrong?
It went too big too fast. Yeah, it went too big too fast. Is really what happened. But I still like it, to be honest.
I think if it's done right.
But I love this game. I love the cast. Welkin is actually my profile picture on my PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm. How always has been.
Him and his sister Zara, great characters. They get introduced to Alicia, and oh man, I really don't want to go into spoilers here, but I'm going to, because this game is the complete and total package, because they're not afraid to establish a romance in the game, and they're not afraid to be like, we'll save it for the end of the game. You know, it's like, no, it's pretty clear that like Welkin and Alicia like have feelings for each other, and rather than just kind of be like, and now they'll date. Well, Isara, your sister, gets shot and killed. She's the only mandatory death in the game. Everybody else is like an optional death if you're a really bad tactician. So they complete the war story. I won't go into details with that, but at the end of it, they do the epilogue, and you see Welkin and Alicia have a daughter, and her name is Isara, and Welkin's finally a teacher now, and she's finally a baker, and all these things they talked about in the game. It's just such a perfect bow. So if like you're playing this game and you're like, I love these characters, like it does not disappoint in the ending. And as a matter of fact, it nailing that ending and having such a great tactical combat system. I mean, I wonderful stuff. Tons of character moments because I love the characters. Great combat. But man, alive if it's not that ending that just tugs at you, man. It's like everything they talked about, all their dreams came true after the war.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful, wonderful stuff.
That was one of the last games I watched you play. I wish I had the time to play it, because I think when that was out, I think I was going to university and working full-time, or I just got on a full-time, and I just never had the time to play it. But watching you play, I was loving it. I'm like, I want to play this game so bad.
I beat the remaster last summer. I think it took me like 20 hours.
Yeah, and that's definitely one I've got on my gaming bucket list for sure.
So much
I remember
fun.
this one time you were doing this round and you were having so much trouble with it, and I was like, oh man, it's a shame you only have one guy that has the rocket launcher. You go, well actually I've got three, but I never use them. I'm like, well, bring them in instead of your snipers. And you reset the match and you brought them all and you just blew up the tank. And it's like, of course.
Yeah, my strategy when I played the remaster, I was like, wait, I just have to get to the objective? All scouts, rush.
Yeah, so you get options, which is always fun. Because, sometimes that's my problem.
A little bit of luck in that game is better than a lot of skill sometimes.
Sometimes
really
my problem with those kinds of games is I don't like pivoting. Like, I have like this really well-crafted team that I like sending in, and I bristle at the idea of changing their classes or overloading one class to try to cheese it, So
what's interesting about this game, too, is the characters you have in it all have like personal favorites or passives. So when you're paying attention to who likes who and who gets along with who, you can double like your output and get all these bonuses. Plus, this was a Sega game, and Vice and Ica from Skies of Arcadia from Skies of Arcadia are playable characters in it. And when I saw that, they were in my squad constantly. They never left.
Oh yeah, same.
So I mean, it's just I was happy to see such beloved characters.
But you didn't mention the most beloved character of the entire game.
Hans the
Yes!
pig. Yeah,
Hans!
he's wonderful.
Delightful throughout the entire
Yeah, he's a
game.
little winged pig.
Yep.
Great stuff. I love the game, love the characters, but like I said, the ending is truly just an excellent character beat, and for that reason, it gets my number 3. I love the game. I don't have negatives to say. I don't remember the soundtrack that well, unfortunately, but I love the game.
That's
No, very, very solid pick. I knew it was going to be on your list as soon as this episode came up. That was the only one I could guarantee.
You will probably be able to predict my number 1.
Almost certainly.
Anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes probably knows my number 1. All right, Casey, number 2.
Number 2. Thank you. Yes, I could use a break. My number 2 is a more recent game to, I believe, the computer side of things. Ooh. I believe it did have an earlier release window at some point. I'm not sure, but I had never heard or paid enough attention to this franchise until you actually had recommended this game to me. And I am giving my number 2 to one of the most beautiful games I have ever played in my life. And I listen to this soundtrack weekly. And I'm giving it to Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana.
Oh, yeah!
This game is so good that I actually was like, I'm just going to use this as a D&D story for my D&D group.
I don't blame you. That's a great story.
And when they got to the reveal of everything, they were blown away. But that's not important because this game reignited my passion for wanting to play any form of RPG at all.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's not your standard JRPG. It is definitely more of like your action adventure RPG, more hacky slashy. You do run around. You have set abilities. It is more of that button masher. But what I just really loved about this was it was such a well thought out story. The world made sense. It was mysterious enough that it pulls you in and you're like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. What's happening here? And then they slowly give you bits and pieces of the history and what's occurring here. And the entire time it's happening, you're all just trying to figure out how the hell are we going to get the fuck off of this island?
Yes.
Like the game literally starts you
gotta build a shelter, and then you gotta defend it against wave after wave of enemies attacking. You have to upgrade everything. You have to find survivors.
It is.
Plus this epic story, excellent character work.
It is so beautifully told.
Wonderful soundtrack.
And the soundtrack, I mean, Sunshine Coastline.
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine Coast. As soon as you wake up on this shore, you don't know where the hell you are.
It's a level 1 song.
Yeah, level 1 song.
It's like,
Cue it.
I've been playing it in the background probably this whole time by now.
Oh, that's what that is?
You can't hear it.
But shouldn't we pretend all the music's diegetic?
No.
Oh.
I think we will.
For the first good portion of the game, they keep you locked into one part of the island.
Yes.
And that is the south side of the island. And you're like, well, we need to climb the mountain. We need to work our way around. We need to see what's on the other side. Maybe there's some stuff we can get there, and maybe there's more survivors. Because the whole time, you were trying to find survivors of the shipwreck. And boy, do you find a very colorful chaos. Oh, boy. It is
but
dynamic.
a lot of them have things to do in the village too, and
that's
they
the
provide
best
support
part.
skills when you get attacked. Like when the village gets attacked, like your camp gets
Yes.
attacked, they provide support skills.
And that is one of the best things
building
about
rapport
it.
with them makes it easier to win.
Exactly. And here's the best part about this story is it gives you this big mystery at the start.
Yes, it does. It's a
And
wonderful game.
it takes multiple beautiful choices and weaves them into one cohesive ending, which I absolutely love because sometimes there's multiple endings you can get for the game.
There are.
There are, yes. There's a
Oh.
good ending, bad ending, and then the perfect ending.
I got the perfect ending.
That's the one I got.
I had to do everything. I was compelled.
I was, again, and grindability, like all that, like
Combat was
extra
perfect.
effort. It didn't feel like a chore in this game. And that's why I really loved it. But the ending of the game, like when you actually got to that final cutscene, and if you had done everything right, and you get that perfect ending, it is worth it. You get this really beautiful reward for it. The story makes sense. And then the moment you see the credits start rolling, you're like, oh my God, after all that?
Yeah.
This is what's oh my gosh, like what an amazing story. And like, I don't want to say what occurs because it is.
Yeah, don't spoil this. Everybody should play this one.
Yeah, this one is one to play.
You will not be disappointed.
And now I know I said it was the 8th game, Ys 8, but here's the best part is all of Adol's stories do connect across all of his
Yes.
adventures.
There are
but
references
they're
to the
loosely-
previous one. Yeah, there's references to what E7 in this one.
Yeah, there's
So
multiple.
it's
yes.
like watching The Rescuers Down Under. You don't have to have seen The Rescuers to appreciate it.
Sure,
Sure, Dylan.
Why not, Dylan?
Sure.
Just like that.
Yeah. Get him out of here.
You've never seen Rescuers Down Under, have you?
I think so. That's the one with Tom Selleck.
Wiggly Down Under. Just talking about that movie the other day, too.
He's a great choice. I love that game.
Highly recommend it. It's
Yep.
worth playing. I would not even say watch a playthrough. I would
No,
say
you gotta do it
play
yourself.
it. Play it. Even if you just put it on easy. It is a beautiful game. The combat's not asking a lot. And just the story pulls you in,
How about
and it's
her
a
recommend
beautiful
an ugly
world.
game where the combat does ask a lot?
Well, now I'm curious.
I know, it's just so funny.
Go ahead.
The complete opposite.
So what is it, man?
Oh, okay, so for number 2, I hope you like load times.
Oh God, is it Summoner?
It is. I am recommending Summoner from the year 2000 on the PS2.
You merged that game back in the day.
Oh my god. Well, okay, so brief history, my history with the game. We had the PS2. We're all loving it. We're all
Yep.
trying. There's 3 boys in one house. We're all 2 years apart. We're not literally fighting over it, except when we are literally fighting over it, which wasn't often. No, we were really good at taking
I was
turns.
still playing a lot of Sega Dreamcast back in the day.
Oh yeah, no. Well, we had options. So
That deserves
I just wanted a game that was like really like my own. And when I saw this at GameStop and it had like a guy with a sword and there was like a minotaur with a battle axe, I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I'm glad I did, even though, like I said, it's ugly and the combat does ask a lot
Sure.
from you.
I still don't know how to play it. I was
Nope.
watching
Yeah.
you play it, and I was like, oh, better him than me, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, the chain attacks are not intuitive. The timings are slightly different every time for the same attacks. It makes no sense.
Atrocious.
But here's the thing, though.
Atrocious.
I absolutely love the story. I absolutely love the character because you actually are like the main character, his name is Joseph. He's just a farm boy who has this tremendous power to
Right.
summon monsters. He doesn't understand how to use it. He accidentally wears a summoner's ring, which summons this big shadow monster, which is actually cool because that's like where the story kicks off when he's a kid.
Yeah.
Then it comes back as an adult, his town's being raided, and then halfway through the game, you actually recover that original ring you had when you were a kid.
Oh,
You can
that's
summon that
dope.
monster and control
That's
it.
dope.
Right.
No, there's so much great. That's the thing too. This game it's very deep. It has tons of layers, and they pivot hard on you when you don't expect it. They send huge bosses at you when you don't expect it. And if you lose, that boss is gone. You're not getting that rare item that he was gonna drop. You know, like
Oh, so
yeah.
ooh.
Yeah, and you
okay.
can reset, and there's no guarantee that boss is coming back. I mean,
Oh.
and
That's-
again, with the aforementioned load times, you don't really want to risk it. And then we were talking about how there's too many side quests. So all the stuff you
Yes.
guys are talking about you don't like in RPGs, it's all in Summoner. Tons of side quests. One of my favorite side quests. This is true.
Oh, man.
I was
Of course,
thinking about
of
this.
course.
When you first
Oh, man.
arrive in the city, the big capital city, it's very bustling. There's lots of NPCs you can talk to. There's lots
remember
of
that.
shops you can go
Yeah,
to.
I remember how big it was.
Yeah, I mean, the game was very ambitious. You have to give it that. And you talk to this old beggar, and he just says a bunch of gibberish, and you get a side quest. And it said, this old man was saying gibberish. I'm like, how is that a side quest? Anyway, you go through the entire game. I'd rather say I went through the
Yes.
entire game. You're back at the capital city. It's all burnt out, all on fire, all destroyed. And I'm running through, and I realize that there's an option for a fish hanging up. And I click it, and it gave me like this sword that would have been really good if I was like level 3, but I'm
Yeah.
like level 57 now. And that's
where it came from.
And it solves the old man quest. And it's like, the old man must have been talking about the fish. I'm like, what? Why did the old man know there was a sword in the fish? Why was this a quest?
So there is a sword in the fish.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing, too. Like I said, those pivots. I'm just going to give some spoilers because I don't know
Go
if there's
ahead,
a lot
yeah.
of appetite out there for people to play Summoner.
No, I don't think
But
they
you
can
really-
even if they want to.
You
No.
can get it on Steam. It's not a great translation, though.
Oh.
It's not great, but it's playable.
Okay.
Look that up later.
So one of the things was I
No, I'm
was
not.
No,
So-
I want to see the reviews.
I had Joseph in my team, obviously, because he's the main character. You get tons of great characters. And I had him being a two-handed sword fighter.
I remember that.
It complemented the other teammates very, very well. Get this, story point. He gets his hand with the summoning rings chopped off halfway through the game. You can't use two-handed weapons. He's literally one-handed the rest of the game. I had to build up the one-handed attack.
My God.
So I just basically turned him into a cleric at that point. He just did the healing and the aforementioned summoning.
Right.
Very important. But the second half of the game, you're going after the other fabled summoning rings, and they summon dragons. Oh, it's so cool. The game has so much cool stuff. And then at the very, very end, you have to make a decision as the main character. There's one of two paths.
Right.
Either you become a god or you walk away from it.
Ooh.
I know, and both options are viable. But spoilers, Summoner 2 goes with the assumption you became a god because the character comes back in his god form to talk to the new main character in Summoner 2.
Really?
Yeah, Summoner 2 is another good one. Not good enough to make my list no matter what qualifications I
fair
have.
enough.
But that was another great game. But yeah, so so again, to reiterate why Summoner is my number 2, it's just really special to me.
Right.
Because I'm like one of the only people I know who played it, which I think is pretty cool. Though I'm sure there's some great people out there who played Summoner. Leave your favorite Summoner moment in the comments.
It's just going to be that video that went viral at the end of it where they were playing D&D.
Oh yeah, because that was actually that was based off of a recorded sketch, and they just used Summoner characters over it. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if the secret is go into the credits and push select, and you can see the video. I remember that after all these years, but no, just tremendously fun game. But yes, the load times are tedious. The combat is excruciatingly unforgiving. You have no idea when big consequential stuff is going to happen. That changes the game.
Right.
I mean, there's stuff
Yeah,
that happens. Like
that's
you
fair.
fight a boss. And you realize, wait a minute, why did he come out of this town? You go into that town, that everyone in that town's dead now. You know, so it's
oh boy.
I was gonna do that side quest. And no, you're not. That mother you were gonna help find her locket, she's gone. You find her locket all you want. You'll get the experience, but you can't return it.
You can sell it for gold, though.
Yeah, maybe. No, just and another thing too. Like I do want to focus a little bit on the characters because I think one of the most interesting characters is the captain of the guard who gets assigned to the main character.
Ooh.
He grew up in the same town as you, and your summoning killed his family, so he hates you.
Cool.
And you kind of have to forge a relationship with him. Yeah, no,
That's cool.
There's so many
That's
great
cool.
choices. Like it should be a novel.
It
Like
probably
you
is.
should read. Yeah, like if there was a novelization of
might be.
Summoner. Or even like it could be a bit of a cheesy movie.
be cool.
It would really land. But if they
Make
were
an anime.
you could do an anime. If they were to ever remake the game, just do something about the load times, make the combat a bit tighter. Don't do what Summoner 2 did. Summoner 2 is just
Because that was an action RPG, right?
yes,
That one? Yeah.
very different. And I enjoyed it. The thing I didn't like about Summoner 2 is then at the end they're like, all right, you have to split up all your characters into like 4 teams. I'm like, I've only been leveling up 3 guys.
I hate that.
Oh,
Yeah.
terrible
So
RPG trope. I hate
it
when
is,
that
and so
happens.
like I literally
that
have
happens.
level 80 dudes trying to lead level 20 dudes through these different places, and it was hard. It's doable, but man, that was hard.
Nope.
All right.
So,
well,
Dare, you're number 2.
well, it's funny because you said like Summoner. It means a lot to you.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2. It's really not that much of a hot take. It's Final Fantasy IX.
Great
Great.
pick.
Yeah.
Love Final Fantasy
Excellent.
9. Everything about that game I
Yeah,
love.
there's just a lot I like about it. I love characters. I love the soundtrack. I don't really talk a lot about soundtracks in games because I really don't remember them that well. They don't stick with me. This one did.
I agree.
I really enjoyed that. But what's more, so the reason why it's my number 2 is because you guys were big into playing RPGs at the time, and I really not so much. Right? Like I think prior to this, I had played. God, did I play Legend of Dragoon before this or after?
Before.
I think I did before.
Way before.
Yeah, because I never like I said, I never really beat it, and I was like, this is kind of neat. But when I was playing Final Fantasy IX, all of a sudden the game goes insert disc 2, and I'm like, no, but I just started. Nope. I had been playing for a long time, and I was just like, wow, what a game that I just completely lost myself in it. And at that point, because I was like, all right, RPGs are kind of neat, and this is the game to me that's always like, no, you actually really like RPGs, because I never did any of the older games like you guys did. You guys had been playing RPGs a lot longer than I had.
Well, I'm older than you.
But the
no,
seed order doesn't make sense now.
yeah, but like Final Fantasy IX. First of all, I've always loved kind of like the magic technology, Renaissance art styles. Like, I think the art style.
I was going
in
to
this
comment.
game-
The art style
Yeah.
on that is so good. It looks like a fairy tale.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It really delivers on the fantasy
it
part of
feels like
Final
one.
Fantasy.
And it does. Yeah, and it's and
Especially when you consider this is coming off of 7
And
and
8,
8, which
yeah.
were really
Sci-fi,
serious,
magic stuff,
very
yeah.
sci-fi oriented.
Fantasy 8.
And this one is like a fairy tale book come
It
to
is.
life, and it's just gorgeous.
The characters are great, of course. I love characters. I play RPGs mostly for character stuff.
Yep.
The main story is a little cuckoo bananas, but I don't really care.
They all get a little cuckoo bananas
Yeah.
at the end because they
Final
have to
Fantasy,
justify
that's what
why
they
you're
do.
fighting a giant blue guy.
Yeah, it's like,
Who
no,
are
that
you?
final boss
I've been
showing up out of
named
nowhere.
once.
5
5 minutes ago. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah. Well, I'm the big boss. No, you're not. He was. No, I am. So
This doesn't make sense.
But it's got a great epilogue for all the characters. The fact that they put out like they've done like the remaster of it, and they have a lot of like quality of life improvements, like
Yes.
you don't have to fight as much if you don't want to,
Yes.
and so I won't go. I don't know if I could properly describe spoilers in this game without sounding like a lunatic. Well, you should think about the souls going into the planet. It's like get them out of here. But like I said, like the main story is a little cuckoo bananas, but there's some really good character work, some wonderful, wonderful pre-rendered backgrounds, beautiful locations. Beautiful, beautiful music. I still listen to the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, actually, I do too.
Shout out to Not Alone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not Alone.
Melodies of Life.
Melodies of Life.
Constant
Banger.
rotation.
Yeah,
Constant
great stuff.
rotation.
And I absolutely love the game. I love the combat. I loved I just love the game.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. It's
for
a
me, it
great
was
game.
like the game where it's like, oh, I don't want to stop. Like, and if it hadn't been for Final Fantasy IX, I am fairly convinced I would not have spent as much of my life playing RPGs. But like that game just like it got me. This is the game that got me, and I was like, whoa, I need to play more games like
Yes.
this. I really because. And then, at school, everybody was playing like Final Fantasy already. And so I was like, you guys play Final Fantasy 9? They're like, you got to go play Final Fantasy 8. So then I played Final Fantasy 8. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, I guess. It's not my favorite. Because I liked, as you said, that fairy tale style of 9.
And like the it's almost like magic punk because it's like steampunk,
it's like
but it's
magic
more
punk.
magic.
It's like
Yeah,
magic
yeah,
punk.
exactly.
Yes. I say magic Renaissance because
Magic
everybody
Renaissance. Yeah,
looks.
no, it
It's
really
like
is.
Victorian England maybe, or like magic
I love
Victorian.
Steiner's
Yes,
character
yes.
design.
Steiner's
It's-
great.
Yeah.
Great
He
character.
grows on you
All the
so
characters grow.
fast.
All the characters
And then of
design are
course
great.
we
I
all know
don't
the best
like-
character in the game,
Vivi.
Vivi.
Oh, hands down.
I
Hands
mean,
down.
by far, probably like if we were to do like a video of like our favorite RPG characters,
Which
in
we should.
general- we should. I
Which
mean,
we should.
if he's not, he might be. He's not my number one, but he
he's
might
top
be
five.
my
He's
number
top
2
five.
because
Because Steiner's number one.
number one.
Master Vivi.
Master
What if
Vivi.
you
Yeah,
cast
Master Vivi.
fire on my sword?
Yeah, no, I did like that. How you could synergize the
Yeah, all that
attacks
the
and
stuff,
things,
the
yeah.
lessons they learned from like
Yes.
Chrono Trigger.
You know,
and
I
stuff
did.
like that.
I did not like the monk guy with dreadlocks. I thought he got to the party a little too late. I didn't feel
Amaron,
like.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, I've already got my team. You go wait at the base.
That's kind of a problem with Final Fantasy in general, though. Like,
Are you
they
the best
give you
friend
a
yet?
yeah, right. They give you a really strong good guy at the end. It's like, oh, just put him in your team. It's like,
no.
well, I don't want to.
No.
I know, I like
But
my
why
characters
not?
as is. Final Fantasy 16.
I've already got one.
Yeah, 16 doesn't make that mistake though, because if there's somebody's going to join your team for a little bit of the story, they're in there as a guest.
Yes,
And-
and that's
and-
the
yeah.
that's the way that
that's
it
how
needs
you
to be
should.
in.
Yeah. If you're
But-
gonna get people that late in the game, absolutely.
but no, I love the characters. I love the world.
Love the blue mage lady. 'cause she's
Triple
cooking
triad.
Yeah, Triple
So much
Triad
triple
actually was.
Triad is fucking fun.
That was fun. That was understandable.
Wait, no, that was Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, H Triad. This was the. I don't remember what it was. It was a card game.
I
But
thought it was the same thing.
it's the same one, but this one is like quad corners or something. I can't remember.
It was something different.
I did play
I'm
Triple
embarrassed.
Triad in 8, but I did not really do a lot of the card game in 9, I don't think. I don't really care for those kind of like, oh, now go into the world and collect cards so you can do this side game. With the exception of Gwent.
Witcher 3.
Well, yeah, Gwent and
The
Witcher 3.
exception.
I loved Gwent and
Gwent,
Witcher
that was
3.
great.
I mean,
Yes.
I love Witcher 3 in general, but
yes.
yes. But no, this one, soundtrack, characters, the art design, everything about this just really spoke to me. The gameplay worked for me, and it just made me want to play more RPGs. So that's why Final Fantasy IX is my number 2.
I really don't doubt that it would hold up so well today too.
It does.
If someone jumped
It does.
into it.
It does.
I
It's
believe that
perfect.
game.
I think it holds up better than
Hey,
someone jumping into Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, no, I think it has a timeless quality about it.
It does,
You could
yeah.
tell even at the time when you're playing, it's like this one's gonna stand up.
Yeah. God,
Could I make a-
it's so good.
Just another additional note to Final
Actually,
Fantasy IX
no,
really
we're
quick.
all out of time. No.
We didn't get to.
I just a special note with Final Fantasy IX, and I don't. I hope you guys do remember this. Is why it was also very special for me, though it did not make my top 5.
Okay.
The year that came out for Christmas, these two got me Final Fantasy IX with the collector's edition, limited edition. It was a like holographic sort of like color filamented strategy guide.
Oh,
So it had the light reflection
Right,
off
yeah,
it.
yeah, like
It was a limited run. And I'll never forget because that was the one thing I wanted that year.
Yeah.
And I remember I brought a small TV into my bedroom at
Yes.
the time, hooked it up, and Mom's like, "We gotta go over and see the Johnsons," and I was just like, "No."
I'm glad you brought up that strategy guide because it is widely considered to be the worst strategy guide ever written.
But it was so good.
Yes, so get this. And now we don't remember this probably very well, but I was reading about it recently.
Oh, okay.
And it turns out most of like the strategy guide was just like, oh, and if you go here, you can find additional tips and tricks at playonline.com because they were pushing their website.
Oh yeah.
And so
Okay.
like, and if you look at the cover now, it says featuring playonline.com. And so it's like the
That's
whole
funny.
strategy guide is just telling you to go to playonline.com. And of course we never did.
No.
It's like we
No.
liked them as art books more so than actual.
the artwork.
I
in
wish
that
we
was
had kept
fantastic.
those things now because like, could you imagine
Right.
if all the strategy guides if we had kept like they're just art books.
Yeah, yeah. My buddy Tim, that you guys remember, he actually has the Final Fantasy VII strategy guide, and it's
nice.
in his bathroom. So anytime he goes to the toilet, just
Nice.
I don't know what that says about the game.
no. Shall we beer break before we get to our number ones?
Okay, we're gonna beer break and then we'll do honorable mentions and then straight into our number ones.
Honorable mentions,
All right,
yes,
nice. I like it.
fantastic.
I like it.